The Chinese Communist Party is waging a political war against the United States. America is finally starting to wake up, but can it get its act together and fight back? Welcome to China Uncensored. I'm Chris Chappell. It may not be too obvious, but the CCP is already waging war against the United States. It has many weapons in its arsenal, but one you don't hear about often enough is what's called political warfare. Political warfare is a form of unconventional warfare that combines diplomacy, propaganda, bribery, infiltration, and many other tools to manipulate people to get your way without resorting to weapons. It's much easier, less risky, and more effective than conventional weapons. Plus, it's very difficult for victims to recognize what's going on until it's too late. Fortunately, the US is starting to wake up and notice the CCP's tricks. Recently, the House Oversight Committee even held a 4-hour hearing devoted solely to the CCP's political warfare. These hearings were attended by some very interesting guests, including retired Brigadier General Robert Spalding, retired Colonel Grant Newsham, and Jamestown Foundation President Peter Mattis. Two of them have been on my China Unscripted podcast before, so they were true professionals. They shared excellent expert perspectives on China's political warfare. Too bad the representatives from both parties, Republicans and Democrats, didn't even bother to listen to them, getting caught up in petty squabbles. How is it that a hearing on the CCP's political warfare turned into an argument about who needs psychotherapy? We can talk about China with Trump and Russia with Trump. You all need therapy, Mr. Raskin. No, you need therapy. You're the one who's involved with the deranged politician, not me. I think they all need therapy. Heck, after watching this, I too have a need for therapy. But seriously, why did American leaders use these hearings to go on tirades about Trump and Biden's alleged corruption schemes? And about whether there are Nazis in Ukraine? I'm surprised they haven't argued yet about whether or not a burrito is a sandwich. They didn't seem to be taking these hearings about the CPSC seriously at all. And I am not alone in that opinion. With respect to my colleagues in the opposition, this is not about Donald Trump. This is very serious. If you want to make this a question about him, let's do that. But for God's sake, for once, let's put the national security interests of our country ahead of political interests. How naive was I to think that these hearings could become truly bipartisan when we're discussing the threats posed to the United States by the Chinese Communist Party? It doesn't matter if you're a Democrat or a Republican. We live in this country, and it is threatened by the CCP. But it wasn't just petty political squabbles that undermined the credibility of these hearings. Some of the experts invited also raised questions. For example, why did the Democrats invite Timothy David Snyder as a minority witness? This guy specializes in Central and Eastern Europe and the Soviet Union, but not China. In fact, his testimony was mostly about disinformation about Ukraine, peppered with attacks on Trump and Republicans. Wait, so the CCP is simultaneously trying to convince Americans that the election is meaningless and supporting a certain candidate? That sounds contradictory. Chaos in the US is a huge plus for the CCP. America has enough distractions as it is. Ukraine, Israel, the crisis on the border, the upcoming election, just to name a few. In fact, these hearings only prove the CCP right. Because in the end, nothing was done. Just pointless bickering. Meanwhile, US politicians simply gave the CCP a propaganda piece to show how badly the US government is doing. Which of course is technically true, but I can name other governments that are performing even worse. Had congressmen not been distracted, they would have heard valuable comments from the invited experts. But since Congress ignored them, I hope you'll listen to them. This is what they were trying to warn America about. As Mattis pointed out, the CCP is not acting out of good intentions at all. Not that it has good intentions or heart at all. From the very beginning, it has been in the ideological blood of the CCP to seek dominance and control, not only domestically but also on the international stage. Retired Brigadier General Spalding points out, adversaries like China use the power of communication to distort and manipulate the very essence of our society. This doesn't just apply to TikTok. The CCP also uses fake deepfake televangelists to spread disinformation. Retired Colonel Newsham warns of the same. According to him, a key aspect of political warfare is psychological warfare. It changes the way people perceive things and see the world. In turn, It has shaped the way we think, speak, and act when it comes to China. For example, the CCP deliberately identifies criticism of it as anti-Asian racism. This idea was even floated at the hearing. Anti-Asian racism is pervasive in this country. Republican rhetoric and policies have helped normalize it. In March 2020, Donald Trump used the racist phrase Chinese virus in a tweet in reference to COVID-19. It turns out that even just pointing out that the virus originated in China or the US is considered unacceptable. And this is a fact, after all. Even hinting that the C2's negligence in biosecurity may have contributed to the spread of the virus is considered anti-Asian racism. Can a group be organized to find these weapons of mass distraction? Another important expert thought, the CCP has convinced the US defense establishment that China is not a real threat and any problem can be solved through engagement and mutual understanding. The best illustration is the words of former Assistant Secretary of Defense Joseph Nye, "Work with China. Don't contain it. If we treat China as an enemy, we guarantee a future enemy. If we treat China as a friend, we preserve the possibility of a more peaceful future." Still, many politicians repeat that we need China's help to fight climate change, fentanyl, North Korea, etc. But let's stop and think about this. We are talking about a communist country that threatens its neighbors, commits genocide of minorities, uses rape as torture, persecutes dissenters abroad, steals hundreds of billions of dollars worth of intellectual property every year, destroys the environment, wages a drug war, supports other authoritarian regimes and terrorist organizations, and commits many other atrocities. And yet we are told that we must continue to cooperate. According to some politicians, business leaders, and academics, yes. But in reality, you don't cooperate, you indulge. And it's a successful political war. China has achieved what the Soviet Union could not, and its wall is still standing. But Mattis, Mnuchin, and Spalding have offered solutions. Mnuchin believes the US should do a better job of exposing the CCP and its political warfare. This should be handled by the State Department's Center for Global Engagement, which was created to identify and counter foreign propaganda and disinformation. However, according to Mnuchin, it is doing very poorly with respect to China. In contrast, Mnuchin noted, private publications such as China Uncensored are doing a much better job of exposing the CCP. Seriously, Mnuchin told Congress that shows like China Uncensored do an excellent job of educating the general public about the CCP's evil deeds and the need to do something about it. They're factual, informative shows, they have nearly 2 million subscribers, and the Chinese government hates them. Wow, thank you, Colonel Mnuchin. And it's true, the Chinese authorities hate China Uncensored. China's state media call our channel a disgraceful anti-China trash program. And all of this is made possible by you. You watch our videos, share them with your friends, and subscribe. Thank you for watching this video. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this video with your friends. Together we can stand up to CPC propaganda and misinformation. Take care of yourself and your loved ones, and see you soon.